right here. So we have N. Here is I started recording. So last time, yes, Sophie was asking the question. You see, the first question is, what exactly is the goal of life? So if we are clear, how do you retain the knowledge? Because you remember it every day. Now, don't consider me I'm a kid. I always remember. No, you don't remember. When you wake up in the morning, you have a stress. You forget it. You have some score to settle with other relations. You forget it. It means you don't remember what is the goal of life and what is the common desire. That is the second question. So if we are not able to retain the knowledge because why? Because mind is impure. And when the mind is impure, we are not able to retain that knowledge. Third question, what is the end of the suffering and permanent happiness? This is what we talked about. It is, it is, it is what we say. I'm muting and okay, so now I muted. Yeah, it's okay. So we have to understand that part. So now the fourth question, what brings the nirvana? That is the self-knowledge. Simple is the self-knowledge. And how many types of self-knowledge? Then there comes indirect and the direct knowledge. So the sixth question. And seventh question, what gets the indirect knowledge of the real self? By listening and learning to the teacher again and again until that knowledge settles where? In the intellect. Mind is still impure. So mind pushes you to move further. And the intellect returns and it says, this is what I want in my life. So when you want in that life, life goes. Eighth question, how indirect knowledge of the real self takes place? That is very important part because you'll heard me, you listen to me, you do the practice, and just after the session, your mind goes back to the same level of the stress and the suffering. Why? I forget it. Why? I'm not able to retain the knowledge. Why? I don't believe in that knowledge. What I believe, I have lot of stress. Why honey is this or that. I have I believe in those things. I don't believe what the master is saying. That is the reason one has to keep learning and listening to retain the knowledge. Because the master, once you share your experiences, I understand it. I understand your mind. Can I read your mind? I will tell you later. So, eighth question is how indirect knowledge of the real self takes place. Once the intellect retains the knowledge and it pushes the mind whenever you have an anxiety, duality, and a conflict. And what happens by the indirect knowledge? You have a conviction. What conviction you have now? I have lot of stress. I have a problem. I have problem at the personal level, professional level, social level, at the level of the relationship. Tell me if you don't have. You have it. Because you have it, so the mind goes back to the same stuff again. What is the goal of life? I forget. Let me settle the score with my honey first. I don't have money, that's why I'm a little stressful. That has nothing to do with it. To be in stress and don't have the money. They are not related. How much money the Bill Gates has? Is he not in stress? That we do not understand. Why we do not understand? Again, the same question. So the ninth question is, what happens by the indirect self-knowledge? A conviction comes. So when the conviction is there, you develop the discernment and dispassion, and that takes you to the state of understanding, and that understanding helps you to move into that state. So I did discuss about the gift that we are given. Gift is always covered, wrapped by the boxes and wrapped by the paper. So our master says that we are given a gift of the real self. That is of the nature of permanent peace, happiness, love, and wisdom. But that is a gift wrapped by the three layers. What is the first layer? The first layer is the impurities. What is the impurity? For example, I have a stress. You are not worthy of suffering. But once you accept that you have a stress, then the mind starts moving and distracted to 1 million thoughts. I have a stress because of you. I have a stress because of this factor, this situation. So that second factor is what we say the mind starts wandering. And when the mind starts wandering, my friends, that is the second problem. That is known as a projection. The projection results into a delusion. So that is the second box. After the wrapping is the impurity. And once you remove the wrap, it means you purify the mind. Then you have a projection box. And that causes the delusion. Why don't you understand? I have a lot of stress. My honey is not listening to me. How can you have a stress when honey is not listening to you? Let him or her not listen to you. Why don't you calm down? No, I cannot calm down. You see, this is the projection. It is a projection on my mind. Understand? That is the second factor, second layer. Third layer is the ignorance. Ignorance of what? I don't know that I'm the real self. So what I know? I know that I'm stressed. I have a suffering. I have a problem. This is what the ignorance. So all the three layers, until you uncover it, unveil it, there is no chance of awakening to the real self. No chance of removing the no chance of moving into the into the into the real self. So we are going to start the journey from today. We will pick up what causes the impurity. What are those impurities? How many impurities are there? Can we classify them? Master says, yes, we can classify these impurities. And once we are able to identify, recognize these impurities of the mind, I know you have all those experiences, but you don't recognize, you don't label them as the impurities. And because you don't label them as impurities, there is a problem. Why? Ignorance is bliss. Why ignorance is bliss? I don't know eating sugar every day at the age of my age. And that what is ignorance? Eating sugar is a bliss. For example, you are responsible for my stress. Ignorance is bliss. So the moment I have a thought about you, I imagine you, and I enter into that stress and the suffering in my life. So there are a lot of ignorance. So let us understand, let us pick up first thing that why I don't see the reality. Let us ask this question. And the same answer is that because that gift of the real self is covered by the three layers, that's why I don't see it. Simple, logical understanding. So if I have to uncover that real nature, I have to bypass, I have to remove the impurities, projection, and the ignorance so that the real self shines. It is like the sun is clouded by the dark clouds, but it does not, nothing happens to the sun. Do you see? Nothing happens to the sun. Once the cloud clears, sun is there. So you have to understand one very important, even if we have 1 million impurities, we have 1 million projections, we live in ignorance, nothing happens to the real self. We are going deeper now. It has been a couple of years, we are just listening and learning. Okay, I'm good. I have good experience today. I don't have good experience. That level has gone. You have to become a seeker. If you are not a seeker, nothing happens then. So see that now another understanding about the real self. Real self has 6 characteristics. Always remember, and we will see how we can recognize, experience those 6 characteristics. The moment you recognize these 6 characteristics, you know the real self. When you know the real self, you have an idea in the mind, this is the real self, which is different from the false I, which is caused by the impurities, ignorance, and projection. So what happens? Awakening takes place. Am I clear? Why are you so fast today? No, I'm not very fast. I'm going slowly. The real self is veiled by the three layers. Real self is a gift by the existence. That is when. So until we remove all the 3 layers, we cannot reach to that level. But then another question comes, can you tell us the 6 characteristics of the real self? First is real self is eternal. Eternal means what? It was present before your birth. It is present now. It will continue to be present after the birth. That is the meaning of eternal. It bypasses, it transcends the time. So mindfulness helps us to reach to that state of awakening where we recognize, what we recognize? We recognize the real self. Second characteristics of the real self is, where is the second characteristics of the real self? The second characteristic of the real self, it is truth. What is the definition of the truth? It doesn't change. What do you mean by it doesn't change? It does not change in any situation, in any relationship. You marry or you divorce, and still the real self remains as it is. You marry, you have 1,000 kids, still the real self does not change. You don't have any kids, it does not change. Truth means it does not change. It remains the same all the time. So pay attention so that you can ask the questions about the real self. And so, no, I don't recognize. Now it's a journey. We have real journey has started. So second characteristics, that it is the truth. Instead, we can say it is the absolute truth. Because real self is the truth, because the real self is eternal, that is why it is all pervading. That is why it is all pervading. And that is the nature of the consciousness, which is all pervading. That is the third characteristic. I will continue to explain in the following sessions. You have to pay attention. And then the fourth characteristic is it cannot become the object of perception. It cannot become the object of knowledge. Why? My smartphone, I see the smartphone. It is an object of knowledge in my mind. So real self cannot become an object of knowledge. If the real self becomes the object of knowledge like the smartphone, then it has no value. It cannot be all pervading because this smartphone is changing. It is constantly changing. Yes, Sophie, you have a question. What is that question?
I don't have a question. I just want to inform you that there is an interference. We hear people talking.
Oh, yeah. I could see that. I will
Oh,
tell you why. I will tell you why. So, but you are listening to me?
yes, yes, I
Yeah,
am.
I'm loud and clear. So then the fourth characteristic, fourth we have done. I said it cannot be objectified. Fifth is it cannot be the doer and the experiencer. But I'm the doer. I've been doing everything. I fought with someone yesterday. I love someone today. I'm the doer. So we will find out how it cannot be a doer and the experiencer. Sixth characteristic, it cannot be modified. I'm just doing in a hurry, I know, but I will pick up each and every characteristics all the time. These are the six characteristics of 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 real self. So it means what? If I can pinpoint in my life every day in my thought, in my attitude, if I do not have an experience of these six characteristics, or any situation, any experience opposes these six characteristics, what is the meaning? I'm living in falsehood. It is so logical. It is so rational. You see, now today we have started the journey of a real seeker. You have started becoming a seeker. Hi, friend. So what happened about 2.5 years and 3 years we have been doing this session? Because you did not progress. And still I forced myself, no, I have to start it. I have to start the real journey. So I said, anyhow, I have to start because you have been continuing. If I don't teach, if I don't educate you, it will cause lot of issues. You will continue to live in the same way. At least you have an idea that the journey ahead is totally beautiful. Journey ahead is totally different than what we have learned until now. Even though what we have learned, it will be used. So, any point of time, in any situation, in any condition, in any relationship, if I'm aware of even one of these six characteristics, what happens then? I am aware. I am aware. Yes, I got a glimpse of it. Sometime, if I send you the gift, maybe I will send you the gift of a book, maybe some rosary, which is charged with energy. So you have an idea of the gift, but you don't feel until you open it. That is the way the journey of the self discovery works. Six characteristics, I'm repeating once again. First, it is eternal. Second, it is truth. Third, it is all pervading. Fourth, it cannot be objectified. Fifth, it is neither the doer nor the experiencer. Sixth, it is it is it cannot be modified. Whatever the other experiences I have a stress today in the morning and I'm happy in the afternoon. So stress has changed. The real self does not change. It means it belongs to the false I. It does not belong to it does not belong to the real self. It does not belong to the real self. Understand? So it's more or less more, it is a matter of contemplation and reflection. I have to live my life consciously. If I don't live my life consciously from today, observing the attitude and the behavior all the time, it is not going to help us. Then, okay, I'm paying little money to this beer guy. Then what? Oh, I'm learning. I'm doing a favor to this beer guy. That will not work. I tell you frankly, you have to be responsible for yourself. Am I being tough? Yes, we have to be a little tough. Oh, are you teaching me like kids? I'm not a kid. No, I'm not saying that you're a kid. That I'm not saying you. But you have to contemplate and reflect. How many years? More than 40, 50 years have already passed. We are repeating the same thing again and again in our life. Is it not a fact? How many times you have become stressed? How many times you reacted? Maybe a million times at the age of 50 years. And still, I don't want to find out why the hell I'm reacting. Is it possible to get out of this reaction? Eastern wisdom says yes. Real self does not react. That is how we are going to open up this entire journey. That is why I said the real journey begins now, today. Don't be so serious. Just keep smiling. Let your mind say it is my choice to follow these principles or not. I will continue to live. I will continue to live. I will continue to live in the same stress and the suffering. Uh-huh. You're smiling. Don't worry about it. I will take care, provided you take care of yourself. That is what the real journey of the Eastern wisdom begins. You will see that there is a definition and understanding of each and every word that we use. There is no doubt about it. There is no doubt about it. So that is why I covered the first 10 questions. The indirect knowledge must complete, must come to a conclusion. And when that indirect knowledge comes to a conviction, conclusion, what happens to the intellect? The intellect says, now the time to find that real self and the inner self, to live into that state of, that is known as nirvana, that is known as awakening. Let us close your eyes, close your eyes, close your eyes, and find out the most comfortable position of the body, most comfortable position of the body. So, whatever the most comfortable position of the body that you find, your mind finds, be in it. and eyes are closed gently. Eyes are closed gently. Now is the time to be comfortable looking at the neck joint. Just be there. Look at the neck joint. Be there. Feel the sensation, comfort, and steadiness. Move the mind on the shoulder joints. Be there. Feel the sensation, comfort, and steadiness. Move the mind. Move the mind on the hip joint. Be there. Feel the sensation, comfort, and steadiness. So when I say you to feel and experience, it means you are aware of the sensation. What it means being aware of the sensation? You are unwrapping the first layer. What it means, I'll explain you in the following session. I told you what I talk and discuss, I implement it into the practice. So, move the mind on the hip joint, be there, feel the sensation and steadiness. Now also check that now being comfortable, your body doesn't move, one thing, does not want to move. These are the two aspects. If it doesn't want to move, your intellect has retained the knowledge. And if it moves, oh, your intellect has not retained the knowledge. How simple it is. I will oversimplify everything provided you're a seeker. Provided you're a seeker. Anyhow, being aware of the entire body from the top of the head to the toes and experience sensation, comfort, and steadiness. And now we will go to the next step as being carefree, and we will see how principles today we discussed can apply here. Wandering mind, unwelcome thoughts, unwanted thoughts, there's the influx of it. That is a projection. Why it comes? Because of the impurity of the mind. Where is the impurity of the mind? It has an element of likes and dislikes. Oh, that is, you have been teaching us. Yes, I've been teaching it. So you are looking inside their forehead and become aware of unwanted, unwelcome thoughts. They are coming and going. They are the enemies, most dangerous. We take it casually. We are living in a new normal. What is new normal? Oh, I have a stress, then what? I have an anxiety, then what? I have a conflict with my honey, then what? So this then what has become a new norm. And that is why we have unwanted, unwelcome thoughts. So I characterized it as the lane one. Lane one. So you are just watching, you are an observer. You're an observer. So the moment you are an observer, you are invoking your intellect plus the I thought, which is an observer watching these thoughts. What is the beauty? When you raise your level of awareness, that lane two or an observer, you will discover that it is always separate from the unwanted, unwelcome. When it is separate, like smartphone is separate and different from me. I see it, I feel it, I know it. So the same way when you see, feel, and know it, that all these thoughts that are entering into the mind has nothing to do with me. They are objects. like phone, like your computer, you're listening to me, like any object. Because these objects become a subject, then that thought says, I am in stress, then I become the stress. I just giving a very reflection what is going to come. What exactly we are doing? We are doing nothing. Lane one, I observe the thoughts are coming and going, and the lane two is an observer, is an I-ness. Finished. It's an extraordinary thing that happens. So we will continue this aspect deeply. And it is very easy when we have a sensorial experience. So uh, un, we move from the unwandering mind to a sensorial awareness. Why? Not only the impurities are minimized at this time, but also the projection dissolves. So look at the head and the neck. Look at the head and the neck. Be there. Feel the sensation, comfort, and steadiness. Move the mind on the right arm. Move the mind on the right arm. Feel the sensation, relaxation, and stillness. Move the mind on the left arm. Sensation, relaxation, and stillness. Move the mind on the chest and the belly. Feel the sensation, relaxation, and stillness. Move the mind, move the mind on the right leg. You're aware of the right leg. How you become aware of the right leg? It has nothing to do with imagination. You just move the mind from the right side of the waist to the toes. Be there, feel and experience sensation, comfort, and steadiness. Move the mind on the left leg. Be there, feel the sensation, comfort, and steadiness. Awareness of the entire body from the top of the head to the toes. Be there, and you have an experience of sensation, relaxation, and stillness. Just check it. You're aware of the entire body, and in that awareness, the mind picks up the sensation, mind picks up an experience of relaxation, and it picks up the experience of stillness. Picks up the experience of sensation, relaxation, and stillness. Being comfortable, being carefree, and we have entered into another layer of awareness, which is sensation, relaxation, and stillness. So what happens, the mind wanders and you bring the mind back to the entire body and awareness of the entire body, awareness of the entire body. And after the awareness of the body, you have an experience of sensation, relaxation, and stillness. Why we do that? We are going to understand that clearly in the following sessions. And we have to keep the mind engaged in different steps. Why? To find the new level of awareness. So when we engage the mind in different ways, they are called the steps in the journey. We have already completed the 3 steps. Now we have another step, looking at the breath going in and out. The breath is going in, coming out, feel the sensation of the breath, and check that there is no change. We will also understand when the breath has a particular rhythm and your mind recognizes the rhythm is maintained. What it means, the mind is not triggering the past impression. That we will be understanding in our journey. So that is why I say the three-pointed awareness. Breath is moving in and out. One, no change in the rate and the rhythm of the breath. You do not change deliberately. And second, you feel the sensation. So the very sensation and awareness of the breath helps to withdraw the mind with it. And I can tell you, even if you are able to be aware of the three-pointed awareness of the breath 100% for 2 minutes, you find yourself in a new level of awareness, a state of the calmness. And that is what you have been sharing your experiences. Sometime it happens and sometime it doesn't happen. So how to make it happen all the time, in any situation, in any relationship, what it means you live at a higher level of awareness, and that helps you. How it helps you? You bypass the impurities, you bypass those projections. You instantly become aware before you become angry. The very awareness dissolves that anger or anxiety or duality and a conflict. Oh, it's a long journey. But then what happens? Another projection enters the mind. Either the mind wants to feel sleepy or becomes lazy, it wants to follow the habit, or it triggers many thoughts. So, to prevent these two factors, we just go on counting the breath. When the breath goes in, we add the fourth point. Every time the breath goes in one, out one, in two, out two, go on counting the breath. So again, we have to check if the counting we make a mistake, it means the mind unconsciously brought up any impression, which may not be a thought you may not recognize, but the very forgetfulness indicates the third layer of the problem, that is the ignorance. Forgetfulness is ignorance. I don't know my real nature. And that's why the mind has started running after something which is not necessary, which is not required, but still it goes. Why? Because of the habit. From where the habit comes, the mind has acquired these habits from the society, culture, religion, dogma, belief, ideas ingrained in the mind. A lot of stuff is there. I tell you frankly. You're still counting the word. You won't count. You see, you can say, for example, you're counting 100, 1 to 100 without any mistake. What it means, the mind continues to follow that rhythm. But why it follows the rhythm? It has stopped the projection. And that helps us to, to bring forth the experience of the inner self. Stop the counting, just be aware of the breath. Shanti, shanti, shanti. Om Shanti, shanti, shanti. Om Shanti, shanti, shanti. Bring your awareness on the right hand, your awareness on the left hand. Lift your both the palms, place it on your eyes. Place it on your eyes. Open the eyes inside the palms. Know your experiences. Bring the hands down, and we will share our experiences, plus if you have any question. And I'll answer the Sophie's question in that once I complete this session. How are you, Sophie?
I am good, thank you, Girish. I was aware of my breath all the time, but the counting stopped, so I had to restart. And
Good.
also, I noticed that I'm often in a state of expectation.
You're right. 2 points on the 2 points, Sophie, you are right. Because mind always likes to have an expectation even in the practice. And that expectation pulls the mind outside.
Hmm.
And that makes us forget the counting. Think of this. We'll go in detail. Think of this. So we are going deeper now. Now the journey is deeper. Very good. But you feel calm and relaxed?
Yes, 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 yes. Thank you.
Good. So how are you, John?
Hey, Girish, I'm fine. I was having to deal with unwanted thoughts, mostly related to work. I tried to get rid of them. They kept coming back, but I'm okay.
Uh, that is fine. You're okay. Even if these thoughts are coming, you see that we have a lot of expectations from the world. One thought multiplies, it creates millions of the thoughts. And that is what the unwanted thoughts are there. So once we understand it clearly, definitely we can go. But that is the first point of understanding that yes, you said, I'm okay. We have to be okay. What to do with these thoughts? So, how are you, Meet?
I felt myself attached to some old thoughts in the beginning.
Yes.
And then little by little, they dropped away.
Little by little dropped away. Yes. Yes, you see that that's a new level of awareness. When you get attached, you recognize that you are attached to the thoughts. That's a good beginning. That's a good understanding. So, more and more this week, you recognize how many thoughts are there of which you are attached. That is causing a lot of challenges in our life. That is what the projection is. Did you understand? I told you the three layers. First is the impurities, second is the projection, third is ignorance. Are you in? हो गया 5 minutes. Where
Yeah,
are you at?
I feel calm, and I was sure I was fully awake until Sophie mentioned we were counting. Did we count that?
So it
I
means
never realized we were.
you were not aware I gave the instruction of counting the breath.
So I thought I was fully aware, but apparently I must have dozed off for some. And I didn't think I was.
Yes, yes, yes. It's a good recognition because until the Sophie discussed the experience and you became aware, oh, you this weird guy told me to count the breath and I didn't listen.
No, I
So the
didn't hear.
yeah, so that
But
is what the doze off is. But it's okay in the beginning. Again, I'm saying recognition. A greater recognition helps us to move ahead in this journey. That is really beautiful. What I'm going to do, I'm going to